Hello, friends. So, if you like your reality nice and sane and normal, then you probably want to click off this video right now because this is going to be probably the most unsettling video that I've ever done. And that's saying something because if you've been following me for the last 2 years, I've done over 600 videos and they've been some of the most mind-bendy, insano things you've probably ever come across. But we've had fun, right? But this one's going to take the cake. And there's not really a way to segue into it, so let's just go. Are the Great Pyramids of Giza and the Sphinx from our ancient past, or are they from our future? See, we're just starting off with a bang, y'all. Let's do it. Let's have some fun. So I know that doesn't make any sense, right? Of course they're from our past. They're ancient, man. All the archaeologists said it. They're 5,000 years old. Wow, that's old. Okay, well, let's get into a few things here. Let's lay the groundwork for this thing. So my favorite physicist, John Archibald Wheeler. Doesn't everyone have a favorite physicist, or is it just me? He's badass. He came up with the whole, it from bit and participatory universe, and he says basically we're rendering our universe in real time. But more cool than that, based on his findings from what's called the delayed choice double slit experiment, which was a variation of the famous double slit. The double slit is the famous experiment that proves that basically all reality is like a wave. It's just a probability distribution field, and that when you make a conscious observation of something, that it collapses that wave function. Basically, it takes that little information packet that's full of all the probable and possible outcomes, and it collapses it down into one outcome. And that's what renders our reality, okay? So pretty cool stuff. Now, he also, through the delayed choice double slit experiment, was able to prove, and this is amazing, mind-bending, no one can explain this, but that our current observations and measurements actually render the past as well. And it does this through something called entanglement, that basically they were able to take the double slit and extrapolate it out from the micro to the macro and use it on, like, say, light coming from, ancient quasars that had to pass through these far distant galaxies. And they're able to figure out that when you make the observation today of that light, it actually changes the path that it had to take millions and millions of years ago, which means that when it left that quasar or that star or whatever millions and millions of years ago, it was taking all possible paths, and it didn't have to choose which path until we looked at it now, millions of years later. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right? Well, it does when you think about everything in kind of multiverse terms, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. But just know that that's the groundwork, that our observation of things now actually change the past. It changes the path things had to take. It changes the probabilities of events in the past. Because in the past is just nothing but probabilities. It's actually possibilities of probabilities. So there's all these probabilities, and each probability is assigned a possibility, like a score, a ranking of how possible it is that probability will come into fruition. Okay, you having fun yet? I told you this was fun, right? Who doesn't have fun with probabilities of possibilities? Anyways, so the pyramids, I use that as the big grand example because everyone knows what the Great Pyramids are, right? And also because they're freaking crazy. They don't make any sense. These things were supposedly built 5,000 years ago. No one, I don't care if you're an archaeologist, a scientist, a shaman, a mystic, a remote viewer, no one has any freaking idea who built them, how they built them, or why they built them. It's crazy. Even when you ask people like Bashar or Ra or any of these people that supposedly have all the infinite knowledge of the universe, they give you some bullshit answer. None of it makes any freaking sense. I've never in my life heard one coherent, rational explanation of who built the pyramids, how, and why. Period. None. Because I don't think they've been built yet. Okay, I know that sounds crazy, but think about it this way. If they're 5,000 years old at least, why is there no ancient images of them? None. The Bible, so much of the Bible took place in Egypt. Okay, the pyramids were, up until not that long ago, the tallest human-made structure on Earth, period. One of the biggest achievements mankind has ever done, period. And the Bible, a large part of it takes place in Egypt. And there's no mention of the pyramids. There's no artwork of the pyramids, nothing. What the fuck? It doesn't make any fucking sense. And not only that, even the Egyptians themselves, who were prolific artists, don't have any real ancient depictions of the pyramids. What? Doesn't make any sense, okay? And on top of that, people from all over the world, like that area was like after Alexander the Great, like dominated everything, that area of the world was prolific. That's where everybody merged. That's the kind of that was like the New York City of the world. And there's no famous artwork or anything from that time period of the pyramids. It's like they didn't exist. Doesn't make any sense, does it? No, it really doesn't. Okay, so check this out. One of the oldest photographs, or all the oldest photographs of the pyramids and the Sphinx, when you compare it to today, when you put them side by side, it's like the pyramids and the Sphinx are evolving. And I know they've been doing restoration work and everything, and I'm going to get to that. But it's like they're evolving. It's like as we start analyzing it, thinking about it, poking into the past, into history, it's starting to render all those packets of information that is everything. I mean, we live in an informational cosmos, and everything is just nothing but these packets of information. That information is probabilities, okay? All those past probabilities, probable outcomes, hadn't been forced to collapse into one outcome until we started peeking into the past. And so we started looking archaeologically, mentally, scientifically, mystically, spiritually. We started really focusing on this because it was so mysterious. And then it starts rendering. All those probability packets start collapsing into one outcome, and it starts taking shape. So we're actually watching the pyramids take form. The pyramids themselves don't make any sense. Like all the other structures in ancient Egypt are covered in hieroglyphics and artwork and stuff, and the pyramids are largely blank, just blank. That part hasn't been done yet. They have not fully rendered. They have not fully activated. It's like we're in a simulator, all right? I always talk about this. We're in a virtual reality simulator for consciousness development, and it's like they were put there by Source as this object of fascination that almost like when civilizations get to a certain point of development, spiritually, consciously, then they'll start looking at that, and it starts to really make them think about who they are, what this place is, what would explain this. And I know there's other explanations, like maybe they just predate everything by like hundreds of thousands of years, but that's not what like the science shows. It really seems like these things kind of popped up out of nowhere. I mean, the oldest period, even drawing of the pyramids, was in the 1700s. Before that, they didn't exist. How could this monumental thing not exist? It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's like they just came out of nowhere. And it's like over the last few hundred years, as we've gone through this enlightenment period, they have been rendering right before our eyes. The more we look, the more we see. They start to come to life. And maybe it doesn't make sense yet because they haven't actually fully rendered and fully optimized and fully activated. And maybe one day they will. So it's the bootstrap paradox of time travel. So say when you go to the bootstrap paradox of time travel, say somebody in the future came back in time and gave me this fancy, smancy technological device, right? And I'm like, ooh, this thing's cool. And then I reverse engineer it, and then I make a bunch of them and I start selling them. And then someone's like, hey man, this is amazing. Where did you get the idea for this? I'd be like, yeah, I don't know. Somebody gave me this device and I reverse engineered it and I started making them. They'd be like, okay, well, where did they get the idea for it? No, I don't know. So now we have this device. It's super cool. It's fancy smancy, like I said, but we don't know where the fuck it came from, right? Doesn't make any sense. That's the bootstrap paradox. You can have things just planted into this simulator because it is virtual after all. And it can just be a thing and you don't actually have to know where it came from. So maybe hundreds of years from now, the pyramids are all beautiful, covered in limestone with their golden, cornerstone at the top, and they have hieroglyphics in them, and they're this lively mecca, and it's all amazing, and everyone's like, this place rocks. And they're like, who built all this? Where'd it come from? And the reality would be, we all did, over time, with our conscious observation. Yeah, haha, I told you. How's your reality now, motherfuckers? Let me know what you guys think about that. Have a beautiful day. Peace.